The courtroom fell silent as the toddler entered, clutching a worn teddy bear. He scanned the room with innocent eyes until they locked on the uniformed officer. Tiny finger raised, he pointed. 2 words left his mouth, clear and chilling: "Bad man." Gasps rippled through the gallery. The officer's face turned pale. The courtroom was already tense, but when the bailiff announced the arrival of the final witness, no one expected a 3-year-old. Little Liam shuffled in, gripping a scuffed teddy bear and holding tightly to his mother's hand. Murmurs filled the room. How could a toddler testify in a case this serious? The judge nodded gently. "It's okay, Liam. Just tell the truth." Liam's eyes scanned the room with innocent curiosity until they landed on the police officer seated near the prosecution's table. Something in his small body stiffened. He released his mother's hand and took one hesitant step forward. Then, he pointed. "Bad man," he said. The room froze. At first, it sounded like childish confusion. But the boy's mother began to cry. The defense attorney stood up so fast his chair screeched across the floor. "Your Honor, we request an immediate recess." The officer's face had gone ghostly white. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Across the room, the prosecutor's expression twisted in confusion, then fear. Whispers erupted like wildfire: jurors, reporters, even the judge leaned in. Liam looked up at the bench and added softly, "He hurt Mommy." That was all it took. The courtroom exploded into chaos as the officer was suddenly surrounded by deputies. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. The truth had come not through evidence or argument, but from the pure, unfiltered words of a child too young to know fear, yet old enough to remember. Later, it was revealed the officer had been abusing his position for years. The case unraveled quickly from there. But what everyone remembered most wasn't the paperwork or the headlines. It was the moment a toddler pointed and said 2 simple words that shattered a lie. "Bad man." The courtroom buzzed with the hum of quiet voices and shifting papers. At the center of it all sat Officer Raymond Cole, a decorated cop, the key witness in a case that had captured national attention. The defendant, a young father, was accused of a violent home invasion. Everyone believed Cole's testimony would seal the verdict. Until the child arrived. 3-year-old Jonah was brought in as a surprise witness. The judge had allowed it only after a psychologist confirmed he could speak coherently. Most assumed it was a desperate move by the defense. What could a toddler possibly offer? Jonah clutched a stuffed rabbit as he was guided to the front. His big eyes scanned the room, blinking at the lights and unfamiliar faces. Then he saw Officer Cole. He stopped. His gaze fixed. He lifted one trembling hand and pointed. "Liar," he said. The single word echoed like a gunshot. Whispers surged. Cole shifted in his seat, face flushed. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "Jonah," the defense attorney said gently, kneeling beside him, "can you say what you said again?" Jonah hesitated. Then, louder this time, "Bad man." 2 words. One truth. The courtroom broke into stunned silence. Cole stood abruptly. "This is absurd, he's just a kid." But Jonah's mother was already crying. The judge called for order, but the shift had happened. Doubt had entered the room and it didn't leave. Within days, new evidence emerged. Body cam footage had been tampered with. Cole's integrity unraveled under investigation. The young father walked free. And the city never forgot the day a toddler stood up, looked truth in the eye, and spoke 2 small words that changed everything. No one expected much from the toddler. He was barely 3, clinging to his grandmother's leg as they approached the stand. The courtroom had seen weeks of testimonies, witnesses, experts, lawyers in sharp suits spinning their narratives. But none of it prepared them for what was about to happen. Judge Keller leaned forward, curious. "What's your name, little one?" The boy whispered, "Eli." The defense attorney nodded gently. "Hi, Eli. Can you tell us what you saw that night?" Eli didn't answer right away. He looked around, wide-eyed, his small fingers gripping a battered toy truck. Then his eyes landed on a man sitting confidently at the prosecutor's table, the chief witness, Officer Brent Lowell. Eli pointed. He said, "If you tell, I make you go sleep forever." The courtroom froze. "Excuse me," the prosecutor asked, stunned. Eli turned to the judge, his voice clear this time. "That man. He scared Mommy. She cried when he left. Then she didn't wake up." Gasps filled the room. The officer's smirk vanished. His lawyer tried to object, but it was too late, the silence had been shattered by truth. Within hours, the case unraveled. New evidence came to light, evidence that had been conveniently overlooked. The officer had planted it all, orchestrated the perfect frame job. Until Eli remembered. Until innocence spoke. The jury didn't deliberate long. The wrongfully accused man was freed, and the officer was led away in cuffs. In the days that followed, headlines roared with the scandal. But one phrase echoed louder than any. "Out of the mouth of babes comes the truth adults try to bury." And that truth saved a life. He knows. It was supposed to be a routine hearing. A simple custody dispute, buried deep in the afternoon docket of Judge Morrell's courtroom. No press, no buzz, just a tired mother, a polished lawyer, and a man in uniform testifying as a character witness for the father. Then came Caleb. 3 years old, with wild curls and quiet eyes. He waddled in holding a juice-stained blanket, clinging to his mother's hand. She lifted him gently onto the witness chair, her fingers trembling. The judge offered a warm smile. "Hi there, Caleb. Do you know why you're here?" Caleb nodded slowly. Across the room, the police officer, Officer Dane Mitchell, watched with casual detachment. He had testified minutes ago that the father was a responsible, peaceful man. He smiled, confident. Until Caleb looked at him. The child's gaze sharpened, strange and still. Everyone felt the air shift. The lawyer asked gently, "Caleb, do you know that man?" Caleb raised a tiny finger and pointed directly at Officer Mitchell. "He hurt Mommy." The room froze. Gasps echoed, followed by stunned silence. The officer's expression faltered, mouth opening, then closing. Judge Morrell leaned forward. "What did you say, son?" Caleb didn't blink. He yelled. Pushed. Mommy cried. The courtroom exploded into noise. The mother wept silently. The defense attorney demanded the record be stricken. But the damage was done. A quiet investigation reopened an old domestic complaint buried by influence, dismissed without review. Caleb's words unlocked it all. The officer resigned within the week. The father lost custody. And though Caleb never understood the weight of what he'd said, the adults in that room would never forget the moment the smallest voice spoke the loudest truth. He knew. The courthouse atrium buzzed with muffled voices as spectators filed inside, unaware that the most consequential witness was barely tall enough to see over the rail. 3-year-old Maya, pink sneakers flashing beneath her Sunday dress, clung to her grandfather's hand while clutching a plastic giraffe with the other. The prosecutor had subpoenaed her only after every adult account tangled into contradiction. Judge Ramirez softened her voice. "Maya, can you sit up here for me?" Maya nodded, eyes wide, and settled into the oversized chair. A booster pillow lifted her to microphone height. Across the room sat Detective Graham, the department's rising star, calm beneath polished brass. His testimony had painted the defendant, a homeless veteran, as the violent assailant who broke into the pharmacy. One more authoritative voice and the jury would likely convict. The defense attorney knelt beside Maya. "Sweetheart, do you remember the night the window broke?" Maya's forehead wrinkled. She pointed at Graham. "He braked it." A hush rushed through the courtroom like wind before a storm. Graham straightened, lips tightening. "Maya," Judge Ramirez said gently, "are you certain?" Maya nodded, tapping her giraffe against the wood. "He put on funny hat, boom glass, take shiny bottles." The courtroom erupted, objections, whispers, reporters scrambling for phones. A juror covered her mouth. Inside the commotion, the veteran's shoulders shook with silent hope. Security footage, blurred by glare, had shown only a figure in a beanie. But forensics noted a unique limp. Graham, wounded years earlier, walked with the same hitch. No one had connected the dots until a child did. Within hours, the detective was under arrest, the case dismissed, and Maya was whisked home for ice cream, unaware she had shifted the weight of justice with 12 simple words. He braked it. Took the shiny bottles. Bad man. The courtroom was quiet, tense, the kind of silence that presses against your chest. A high-profile case, a dead mother, and a father on trial for a crime he swore he didn't commit. The only potential witness? Their 3-year-old son, Noah. No one expected much. Trauma that deep doesn't usually leave space for memory or words. Noah hadn't spoken since the night of the incident. The psychologist called it selective mutism, common in children who've witnessed violence. The defense hesitated to put him on the stand. But they had nothing left to lose. He entered the courtroom gripping a small toy dinosaur. His eyes were distant but alert, scanning faces until they settled on one, Uncle Jared, seated behind the prosecution's table. Jared was the one who had found the mother's body. The one who cried the loudest. The one no one suspected. Until Noah stopped in the middle of the aisle. He didn't speak. He just stared at Jared. Then slowly, deliberately, he walked to the judge's bench, raised his dinosaur, and made a soft crashing sound. He turned, pointed it at Jared, and slammed it into the table. Again. Again. Then he wrapped his arms around himself, rocking gently, silently reenacting something only he had seen. The courtroom was frozen. A murmur moved through the jury box. Jared shifted uncomfortably. The psychologist whispered, "He's showing what happened." That moment triggered a renewed investigation. DNA found under the mother's fingernails, previously dismissed, matched Jared. Security footage caught him entering through the back door hours earlier than claimed. The case unraveled. Noah never said a word. He didn't have to. His silence screamed the truth. Unspoken, but undeniable.